Welcome to The Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode. Now, this week's episode is, I suppose, a follow-up to something I did a couple of weeks ago where I showed a bleach colour correction that I did in the salon to one of my wonderful clients, and I didn't show the toning phase of that particular look because it was going to make the video too long. And I know recently lots of people have said, you know, what did you do at this point? What did you do at that point? And I do cut bits out of the process to avoid making the videos any longer than they are already. I appreciate everybody's got busy lives and attention spans can wane at times. So I try and keep the videos as concise as humanly possible. I hope you appreciate not every step is covered. Sometimes I don't show toning, sometimes I don't show me rinsing out the back specifically. You know, lots of questions have come through recently. Some of you will resonate with the things that I've just mentioned. They are some of the things that have been mentioned the most of recent. But you know, I do my best to give you the most comprehensive look of the technique and maybe not every single step of the journey. So if you want to see more of the journey and less of the actual technique, then do let me know down in the comments section, because these videos are effectively made for you. They're not about me. I always say that. They're about me giving you new tips, new tricks, new techniques. So if you want to see more of the journey, more say backwash action, where I am a toning at the backwash or rinsing off the colour, then let me know and I will happily add those in. But to reduce the time, obviously, we will lose a bit of the technique side of things. So there's always a trade-off. You decide. These videos are for you, not for me. That's enough of that. So I am not going to say anything else about this video. You can watch it and decide for yourself. It's one of my favourite toning techniques, and I tone nearly 90% of all my blonde work in this fashion to a degree, in so many different shades. I will talk a little bit about the colour usage of this particular episode. But I will love you and leave you right here. Don't forget, please subscribe if you haven't already. It is massively appreciated. Comments do boost the channel. Thumbs up boost the channel. And all your interaction is massively appreciated. And to my Patreons, who I do fortnightly lives with on all manner of hair topic, that is slowly evolving into the Life of Hair Digital Academy, which will be coming early in the new year now. COVID has slowed down the development of that, but I am working frantically, as well as being in the salon, for you guys to bring you a training platform that I am going to be ultimately very, very proud to be able to deliver to you guys. And so I really hope you're going to enjoy it once it's here. So if you want to get involved with that, the Patreon link is down in the description. Hit that. And if you have any questions, then don't hesitate to either put them in the comment section or head over to my Instagram at thelifeofhair1 and drop me a DM. I am more than happy to help you with any inquiries, any hair tips, tricks or thoughts, anything you see in these videos. I'm always happy to help. So look after yourself, and until next time, I'll see you for another episode of The Life of Hair. So here we have my client after having her hair bleached. Now this is a colour correction that I did, and if you want to see the colour correction part, I will link that at the end of this video so you can check that out. But I'll give you a little heads up. We did a colour correction to get to this point. The root area that you see is the previous colour, and all we did was emulsify the ends into the root area to take away some of the old toner. So it gave me a bit of a cleaner canvas to work from, but this was quite a patchy array of different colours when we started. So do check that out. Now, this technique that you're about to see me do is, I would say, my classic root stretching technique, and one of my absolute favourite ways to tone highlights, scalp bleaches, colour anyone's hair really. It doesn't have to be a blonde service, it can be a dark service too. You know, creating that little bit of extra depth at the roots and fading it into something with a little bit more lightness towards the ends, for me just looks so pretty on so many hair types. And the real trick to this technique, and you'll see as I'm painting through, is to get the colour down to the parietal ridge. And if you watch my videos regularly, you'll know where the parietal ridge is. It's the bone that curves on the head just above the ear there, and the occipital bone in the back just here. Very, very important to get that colour down to that area. Now the root colour we're using here is Redken Shades EQ 7T, which is a titanium shade, which is compiled of blue and violet. So a very, very cooling shade. And we want to create like a dusty, ashy root colour to fade that into 9T. And 9T is exactly the same tone, a blue-violet tone. And we want those ends to be really, really cool, verging on kind of ash level 8, 9 kind of colour. I am actually only going to use 9T on the ends, and so it's not going to drop to an 8, but it's going to sink down because the ends are porous. I'm kind of reliant on the fact that we're dealing with porosity, and it's likely to bring the colour down a little bit. Plus, I'm applying it onto wet hair, which means the hair is slightly more alkaline, pH of around 7, than it would be normally if the hair was dry, and that makes the hair more porous, and therefore your colour can absorb a bit deeper. As I talked about in another video, which I'll actually link at the end of this one, where I did 3 strands and put one on dry, one on wet, and one on really wet hair, 3 toners, and did the experiment to see what happened. So if you want to see that, check that out at the end of this video too. Now, as we move through this technique, it's really important to kind of remember the stretch, guys. You really want to take it well past where you've applied the bleach to. So, you've got that area at the root that you can see now, approximately 1 inch, 1.5 inches of it's not the natural color, although it looks like the natural color on here. It is bleached, and she wanted a bit more depth at the root, so it didn't look too harsh as it grew out. So that's why I'm dropping it down to this 7 level primarily, and actually I just prefer the look of that for really blonde clients, unless you want that kind of ultra platinum look root to tip, then don't do a root stretch. But making sure that we are bringing that color a good 2 to 2.5 inches down the hair, so that you've got room to blend it into the ends. It's really, really important to make sure that when you do your root stretch, that you do actually bring it down far enough. I see it so many times when I'm teaching my classes. People go to do a root stretch and they apply a 1.5 inch regrowth basically, and all you're going to do is create a look that's a bit like roots. Looks like you've put roots back in, which is probably not the desired look. Okay, so I did my root stretch and then I left it to process while I went to mix up my end color. That is to give the root color a little bit more processing time. Now I do that, and I know that that's going to take the processing time over the 20-minute development time for Shades EQ, but I want definite color deposit onto the root area. I want it to sink down a bit deeper. So I am happy to leave it while I mix up. It only takes a few minutes to wander across the room and mix up and come back, 4 or 5 minutes. But that will give it that 4 or 5 minutes over the development time that I really feel helps with root stretches and root shadow effects, if you don't apply your end straight away and then process it all together. Just give that root area a little bit more time. It's a hot tip. If you've done it already, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. 5 minutes extra development time on that root area makes all the difference. So now what we're going to do is go back through our technique section by section, and we're going to overlap with a 9T shade, like I mentioned earlier, titanium, which is violet and blue. The violet is going to stop the blue turning the hair greeny, which is something that lots of people worry about when we're talking about putting blue colours over pre-lightened hair, which is basically yellow, as you see here. That really, really helps having that violet in there. And titanium is probably a very good even mixture of violet and blue, so there's enough red tone from the violet to kind of prevent any dingy green effects. It's a really beautiful shade. It blends really nicely together as well when you're doing blending technique, shade EQ. So yeah, make sure that when you're using these tones and you're thinking about how you want your outcome to be, if you've got yellow present, you do need to put some violet in there before you go all in with the blue ash shades. Whether that's pre-toning, sometimes that's appropriate. Pre-tone at the backwash, take away the yellow, then do your ash shades over the top if you don't have something that has already got violet in it. That is something else to think about. But as far as the root stretching technique goes, it's really simple. If you guys have watched my previous videos, once we've done that root stretching technique where we've changed the saturation from glossy right at the root, matte into the middle of the stretch, and then satin as we go further down. If you haven't seen that, like I said, I'll link it at the end of this video. You'll be able to check it out there. And then stretch it down into the end color, and then you can just apply your end color straight over the top of your matte section, and you are good to go. It will blend beautifully. And you know, having a technique like this in the bag can also mean it can save your bacon when things don't go to plan, because they don't always go to plan. You know, things happen. You might get a bleed, you might get the roots are too light, and all sorts of manner of things. I actually did a bit of a color correction / color tweak for a client of mine today, where her root color she felt was a little bit too blonde and she wanted it softening down. I actually made a video of it, so you'll see it at some point in the future. And it was, you know, it's one of those things where we don't get it right every time. We do things that we feel are right at the time, and our clients go away and maybe change their mind or feel differently about it. And having a technique like this in the bag meant that I could just change it really, really quickly. It took me no time at all, and the client was perfectly happy. And she's getting married very soon, so it was super important that I got that right for her. Now, when I put my colours on, I heavily saturate them, guys. I get so much product on the hair. I feel like it's so important for a good, even colour result. You've really got to saturate that hair very, very heavily. And be assured, guys, it's never a waste of product to get plenty of product onto the hair like this, because when we come to wash off our colour, if our saturation is not perfect, our colour results will not be perfect. And I have had people comment when I've said that before, that saturation isn't the issue and all those kind of things. But saturation causes so many problems when we're colouring hair, because I know people don't want to put loads and loads of colour on because it's costly. But, you know, losing a client or not getting the colour quite right and having to do it again is equally as costly. So it's better to get that saturation right, bang on first time, save someone coming back. It saves you the kind of anguish of the client maybe not wanting to phone up and just going to another salon. There's lots of reasons why it's more cost effective to get it done properly the first time with perfect saturation as we move through the technique. Some of you will disagree with me, but you've got to think of the bigger picture when we're colouring hair and we're dealing with people. You know, that is the end of, you know, at the end of the day, this is somebody's hair and they're going to have to wear it day in, day out. So for me, that little bit of extra product makes all of the difference, just to make sure my saturation is absolutely bang on. And it gives me time to work on the blend as well, you know, use my hand, use my comb to kind of really make sure that that root stretch is absolutely perfect. And in terms of time, how long does this take me? Well, that's a very good question. Hair this length, probably around 30 minutes. It's longer, probably around 45 minutes, give or take. And don't get me wrong, I charge for this at a full head colour rate. So whatever you charge for your full head colour, this technique needs charging for. It's not an express toning service where you can just put it on at the backwash and comb it through. This needs charging for. So, you know, the bleach service is one price. Then we've got the toning service, the root stretching service is another price, so on and so forth. Make sure, guys, that you do charge for each step so you don't have to skimp on time. And if the client doesn't want to pay for each step, then they're probably not the right client, unfortunately, because if you want to deliver something very specific that they have seen on social media, on Instagram, there's not enough clarity out there on these techniques. Not enough social media, hairdressers are talking about the duration that the client is in the salon and the sheer cost of some of these techniques. They're probably only doing 1 or 2 clients in a day, because that is all that is achievable to get some of the techniques that I'm watching done. Future video thoughts, I'm going to probably make some videos like the reaction videos I've made in the past, where we break down these techniques and kind of discuss the possibilities of getting them done in a reasonable amount of time, because I think that's something that's massively overlooked. This particular technique, start to finish, was around 3.5 hours. So that's the corrective phase. Then we had processing time. Then we had this phase where we're doing this root stretching technique, and then we had the blow drying time. So it was 3.5 hours roughly to get this job done. Relative to what I charge is not relative to what you charge. Each of you guys need to have your own kind of pricing structures based on where you're located in the world / country. And obviously, me telling you how much I've charged for this, but it's a lot of money. That's the reality, because as each service adds up, there's Olaplex in this service, as each thing adds up, it's a lot of money. But if you've got the time, you can always do a better job. End of story. You guys know that. I don't need to say that. And here we have the finished results. A beautiful silver scalp bleach. Effectively, I mean, it's a color correction obviously, but with that beautiful shadow root on that level 7, and that's just blending beautifully into that level 9 through the ends. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget, share it with your friends, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already. It's all massively appreciated. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out. See you soon.